The saga, as presented in this narrative, begins like many others in the turbulent history of the ANC, with the sudden arrest of a prominent figure, but this time it wasn't a little-known backbencher or a minor municipal official, it was Mantashe himself, portrayed here as a long-entrenched and deeply connected member of the party's inner circle. His arrest on allegations tied to irregular tender deals sends shockwaves through the organization, shattering whatever illusion of stability still existed. Yet, according to this story, the real shock comes only days later. After being detained and questioned, Mantashe delivers an explosive public statement, not in court, but boldly on the floor of Parliament during a live national broadcast. With visible emotion and a voice trembling between anger and conviction, he unleashes accusations that no one expected, directing his fury not toward opposition parties or the judicial system but at the man widely perceived as the face of the ANC's supposed renewal, President Cyril Ramaphosa. In the fictional framing of this tale, the relationship between Mantashe and Ramaphosa has always been complicated, rooted in the early days of the post-Zuma era, when both were viewed as architects of reform, technocrats with reputations for integrity, and leaders capable of steering South Africa toward a cleaner, more accountable political chapter. Yet insiders, as depicted in this storyline, had long whispered that the alliance was less a partnership of genuine trust and more a fragile marriage of convenience forged for political survival. This underlying tension erupts dramatically during Mantashe's testimony, where he alleges that Ramaphosa not only knew of illicit tenders and clandestine deals but actively orchestrated some of them through intermediaries while maintaining a public facade of ethical leadership. The fictional Mantashe claims that his own arrest was merely a distraction, a carefully crafted move meant to divert attention from more influential figures, including the president himself. In this dramatic account, the sense of betrayal Mantashe expresses becomes one of its most striking elements. He describes a leader who uses loyalists as expendable pieces on a political chessboard, discarding them when public pressure grows unbearable. "I took bullets for the ANC and for this leadership," he declares, his emotion escalating throughout the session, "but when the heat came, I was thrown to the wolves." He recounts moments from his tenure as Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy, alleging that he was pressured to authorize deals that benefited companies tied to Ramaphosa. According to this constructed narrative, he references memos, text messages, and closed-door meetings where he claims directives were delivered to bypass procurement rules, all justified under the pretext of accelerating national development. What may once have been dismissed as factional gossip suddenly becomes a public spectacle, echoed not only in Parliament but also in courtrooms and street corner debates across South Africa. The ANC, already depicted here as weakened by internal divisions, declining voter confidence, and years of corruption scandals, is thrust into what the narrative paints as its most perilous internal conflict, open warfare among senior leaders. As this fictional political storm intensifies, the ANC's top leadership reportedly scrambles into full damage control mode, rushing to distance the party from Mantashe's televised accusations. Official statements condemn his remarks as false, malicious, and deeply regrettable. Yet the country's political base, tired and increasingly disillusioned, is not so easily convinced. In branches across the nation, calls allegedly rise for a special conference and for an independent inquiry not only into Mantashe's arrest but into Ramaphosa's presidency as a whole. For many of the party supporters, again, within the context of this fictional account, this isn't merely about one man's fall from grace, it's a reckoning with the soul of the ANC and the question of whether it can still redeem itself from the grip of corruption and political betrayal. While some observers dismiss Mantashe's claims as the desperate outburst of a cornered man seeking to protect himself, others argue that he is positioning himself strategically, portraying himself as a whistleblower and a betrayed veteran who bore the burden of loyalty only to be sacrificed when it became politically expedient. In this imagined version of events, Mantashe understands that South Africans are both weary and increasingly cynical about political leadership. Recognizing that political careers in the country have at times been revived after scandal, he may be preparing for his own attempted resurrection, rebranding himself as the truth-teller who dared to expose wrongdoing at the highest levels. With Ramaphosa, in this narrative, weakened by various recent controversies and allegations of a state capture 2.0, Mantashe's public attack could be part of a broader strategy, one that taps into widespread public frustration. These fictional tensions raise pressing questions: will the ANC rally around its president, or will other leaders follow Mantashe's example and come forward with accusations of their own? Will investigative bodies finally shed light on the alleged hidden networks of patronage and influence? What is clear within the story's framing is that the ANC is depicted as fighting battles on every front, within its ranks, in the justice system, and in the volatile arena of public opinion. The party's carefully cultivated image of unity appears to be slipping, revealing conflicts and resentments long buried beneath veneer. Mantashe's fall, though perhaps anticipated in some circles, becomes dramatically amplified here by his decision to pull others down with him, directing his accusations at the highest office in the nation. The situation takes on the qualities of Shakespearean political tragedy: power, loyalty, betrayal, ambition, and revenge collide in a spectacle that captivates the entire nation. The narrative suggests that South Africa stands at a pivotal moment, with the ANC facing not only the erosion of public confidence but also an existential crisis over its identity and future direction. As citizens watch this political drama unfold, some outraged, others intrigued, the boundaries between truth, strategy, and political theater blur. The story frames this moment not merely as another headline in a long history of political turbulence, but as a wake-up call, a sign that South Africa is changing, and so too is the ANC. The old patterns can no longer contain the pressures building within the party, and the mask, as the narrative insists, has fully slipped. For those following this dramatic retelling, the implications stretch beyond a single scandal or political rivalry. They invite reflection on how deeply corruption, perceived or real, can erode trust in institutions, how alliances built on convenience can fracture when tested, and how power struggles within ruling parties often mirror deeper societal frustrations. The fictional Mantashe positions himself as both victim and agent of upheaval, a man who claims to have been loyal until the moment he realized loyalty was a one-way street. His accusations become a catalyst for broader public debates about accountability, transparency, and the future of political leadership. The narrative also raises the possibility that this conflict could lead to significant shifts in the political landscape, with the ANC potentially forced to confront internal fractures that have long been dismissed or concealed. The weeks ahead, as imagined in this story, hold immense uncertainty. Some expect the party to consolidate its power by firmly backing Ramaphosa, seeking to silence internal dissent before it spreads further. Others believe more leaders might step forward with additional allegations, emboldened by Mantashe's public stand. The investigative and judicial systems, already under scrutiny for their handling of corruption cases, may find themselves pressed to act decisively, to either validate or disprove the dramatic claims made on the parliamentary floor. Citizens, meanwhile, observe with a mix of concern and resignation, aware that the outcome of such internal wars has profound implications for governance, economic stability, and national morale. In the end, whether viewed as political truth, strategic maneuvering, or theatrical exaggeration, the narrative paints a vivid picture of a party at war with itself and a country craving integrity from its leaders. It delivers a story not just about alleged corruption, but about the fragility of alliances, the cost of ambition, and the explosive consequences that surface when hidden truths, real or perceived, can no longer be ignored. It becomes a call for accountability, a reminder of the stakes involved when political systems begin to fracture under the weight of their internal contradictions. South Africans, as portrayed in this dramatic arc, are not merely spectators, they are stakeholders in a national narrative still unfolding. As the fictional crisis deepens, the national mood becomes increasingly volatile. Ordinary South Africans, long accustomed to political turbulence, find themselves debating the unfolding drama with renewed intensity. Taxi ranks, university cafeterias, township streets, and corporate boardrooms buzz with speculation about what this moment represents for the future of the country. Some argue that the fictional Mantashe's accusations mark a turning point, an overdue reckoning with a culture of secrecy and selective accountability. Others insist that internal ANC battles, no matter how dramatic, rarely lead to meaningful change, warning that this spectacle may simply be another cycle in a long history of political infighting. Still, the shock of seeing such a prominent party figure openly challenge the president in parliament lingers. Civil society organizations, activists, and independent analysts begin demanding clarity, urging investigative bodies to pursue the claims with urgency and impartiality. In this narrative, even global observers express concern, noting that South Africa's stability, once a model of democratic resilience, may be strained by prolonged internal conflict within its ruling party. Amid the uncertainty, one thing becomes clear: the unfolding saga forces the country to confront fundamental questions about leadership, truth, and the path forward. The nation watches, waiting for the next seismic chapter.